Good afternoon, and thank you for hanging on until the end of this conference to be with us today. Have you ever wondered how to get involved with NACIS, but you didn't know how to go about it, or how things worked, or how you could contribute your talents to this society? Well, this presentation is meant to answer those questions, to show how NACIS works as an organization and the many ways you can help it thrive. I'm Leo Dillon.
And I'm Daniel Huffman, and we're here to talk to you about volunteering with NACIS, because NACIS is an all-volunteer organization. You might hear about people doing jobs like organizing the conference, business manager, director of operations. None of these people get paid, and there are a lot of volunteers that make everything happen. As an example, do me a favor. If you have ever done any sort of volunteer work for NACIS, past or present, in any capacity, I want you to raise your hand or to make yourself known in the Slack chat. Now, I'm pre-recorded, so I can't see what's happening, but I know that's a huge portion of this audience that has helped make NACIS happen at some point. And to me, that's what's really special about NACIS, is that it's a community effort. It's by the people, of the people. Everywhere you go during this conference, you're surrounded by people who have, at one point or another, helped make this organization happen. We contribute our skills because we care, and also because we understand that that helps keep costs low, so that this meeting is more accessible to a wider variety of people. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the ways that you can pitch in if you're interested and you have the availability. And Leo's going to start us off by talking about one of the big ways, which is through our board of directors.
Okay, let's start out by looking at how the board actually works. For purposes of simplicity, we can break the board into two groups. The first group is those that are elected by you, the members of NACIS, and the second one are those that are appointed by members of the board. So let's start with the first category, the elected positions. You'll see in the chart that it starts with the 4-year presidency track, and that's a big commitment that someone undertakes to work for 4 years with the board to lead it. It begins as you spend a year as the vice president-elect, and then the next year you're the vice president, and then the year after that you're the president, and the year after that the past president. In addition, the board has 6 directors at large, and they are the people that work to help lead the direction of the society, how it works, and make sure that everything gets done. We also have a student director who represents the interests of our student members. And we also have, very importantly, a secretary and a treasurer. And then there are the appointed positions. These are the positions chosen by board members and not the NACIS members, and they're meant to manage the business affairs of NACIS. These members do attend our board meetings, but they don't vote on the matters that come up at them. To my mind, within this category, 2 of the most important positions are those of the business manager and the director of operations. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Other positions involved in this category would be the executive director, a position that's currently vacant, and the director of continuity, a position that was created recently, and the editor of cartographic perspectives. Now let's look at the NACIS committees. These groups do the work behind the scenes, and since they deal with such a wide variety of subjects, they're a good choice for specialized volunteer work and also for getting experience with how the board works. There's the Awards Committee, which, among other things, coordinates student and member travel grants and also the map gallery at the conference. And then there are the subcommittees, which deal with the map gallery and student map and poster competition, the student digital map competition, and the Corliss Benefideo Award. The Communications and Outreach Committee coordinates NACIS news and social media content, and it has a subcommittee for a website, which is a good one for those with website design skills, but also for those who want to manage the content of the website and make it more clear for the members. There's the Publications Committee, which largely revolves around its 2 subcommittees, which of Cartographic Perspectives, our journal, and Atlas of Design. There's the Executive Committee, the one that you can't volunteer for because its membership is set by the bylaws. And then there's the Finance Committee, which is usually led by the treasurer, and it helps oversees the NACIS budget. The Membership and Analytics Community works to improve member experience and to do analytical work through the surveys that we post. There's the NACIS Store Committee, and for that one, t-shirt designs are needed, among other things. So if you have any ideas and you want to make a Mappy t-shirt, that's the place to go. Then there's the Nominations Committee, which is chaired by the past president, and that manages nominations and elections for the society. And last, but not least, is our newest committee, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, which I think, whose title I think speaks for itself. So what is it that these officers do in NACIS? Well, if you're on the board, one of the things you're expected to do is join committees. At least one, preferably two, even three if you have the time and the inclination to do it. And you are also expected to participate in the board's meetings. The big one is the spring board meeting, a day-long affair, where a lot of the business gets worked out and the agenda gets set, or at least begins to get set. Then there are meetings just before and towards the end of each of the annual conferences. And there are also ad hoc meetings that are done via Zoom as needed throughout the year. By participating in these meetings and in the committees, what you're doing is helping to implement the society's agenda. And you're also helping to plan and execute the annual meeting, what we call the NACIS conference. Now let's look more closely at the duties of each board position. The business manager oversees most commercial aspects of NACIS. This very important position entails negotiating contracts with the hotel and dining services for our annual meetings, and maintaining the member database and the society's bank account. The Director of Operations oversees many of the operational aspects of NACIS, especially the website maintenance and all the forms and links that are associated with it. This position also manages the audio, visual, and other arrangements at the annual meeting. The Executive Director, a position that's currently vacant, works with the executive officers to help plan and implement NACIS programs, including the annual meeting. The Director of Continuity is a new position created by the board. It's filled by an experienced former board member who helps ensure that procedures are followed, that the officers are on track with their duties, that operational records are kept and accessible, basically that everything runs smoothly, and that the new board members can find what they need when they need it. The directors at large are both decision makers for board business and the ones who make the committees operate on a day-to-day basis. The example on the slide from Kate LaRue illustrates the specialties that each director at large takes on to make NACIS run smoothly. The student director at large helps represent our student membership. This position reflects the importance NACIS places on the future of our discipline. The treasurer keeps track of the society's finances and reports to the board and the NACIS membership on the budget, how and where the society's money is gained and spent. The secretary sets up and takes minutes at the board meetings and records the motions and votes made by the board. And then we move on to the presidential track. The first year is the vice president-elect, who shadows the vice president and president to prepare for the future duties in the presidential track. As such, the VP-elect runs practical cartography day and takes on tasks delegated by the VP or president. The vice president is a program planner for that year's annual meeting, a job that requires strong organizational skills and work across the board. Typically, this is the most demanding year of the presidential track. The president essentially runs the board and represents the society. The president chairs board meetings, coordinates board activities, and acts as a chief NACIS spokesperson within and outside the society. The past president's main job is to chair the nominations committee and prepare the ballot for that year's voting. The past president also helps advise others in the presidential track on best practices.
You can get involved in a board of directors sort of capacity, but if that's not to your taste, there's also plenty of other ways to volunteer. If you have a look around at the conference, for example, there are lots of people working behind the scenes to make sure everything is running properly. We have, for example, a new attendee ambassador, somebody who helps answer questions for new people and helps make them feel welcome. We also have plenty of people who organize social events, things like the Fun Run, where somebody plans out a route near the conference hotel and makes sure everybody has maps and knows where to go and everybody gets out the door on time. There are people who put together the lunch bunches, where they'll find restaurants in the area of the conference hotel and make reservations and put out sign-up sheets and make sure everybody gets gathered and out the door on time. Likewise with the Tuesday night meetup, so that people who are trickling into the city right before the conference on Tuesday night have a place to unwind and gather and catch up with old friends. There's somebody who finds what that restaurant is going to be and helps make reservations. If you don't want to get involved in putting together these kind of social events, you can help moderate sessions at the conference and handle questions, make sure everybody gets up on time, gets their laptop set up, things like that. Or you can help moderate our online presence. Our Slack channel needs people to help things run smoothly and to make sure that our online version of the conference is just as good as the in-person version of the conference. And the conference, beyond needing people to sort of organize these events and do things in the moment, also needs people to put in some work before it happens. Things like designing materials. Right? We have a logo for the conference every year, and we have a conference program that usually needs somebody to do the layout work, do the editing work, maybe put a map into it or something like that. There are plenty of ways to get involved in helping make the conference happen for a wide variety of skill sets. There are plenty of volunteer opportunities outside the conference as well. You could get involved in one of our publications, for example, like Cartographic Perspectives, which is the Society's journal. CP has an editorial board, and it also has section editors, people who go out and solicit content about specific topics and then get them edited and into publication shape. Or you could volunteer by just contributing an article. If there's something that you want to write about, there might be an opportunity to publish that in CP. Besides CP, we've also got the Atlas of Design, and every other year they put out a call for editors for that, people who can get that volume assembled and edited and laid out and printed and into people's homes. And then beyond the publications, we've also got a website, nacis.org, and as a website it needs occasional updating, so maybe there's an opportunity for you there. And if you go on that website, you'll notice we also have a NACIS shop where we sell various t-shirt designs to raise money for student travel grants. And on that website, they're asking for designs, new ideas of things that people might want to purchase. So maybe you've got some ideas for that. Finally, you could get involved in a committee. Leo mentioned some of the various board committees that exist, and you don't have to be a member of the board in order to get involved with them. So if one of them is of interest to you, consider joining. Now, all the things that Leo and I have talked about up to this point represent just a portion of some of the different ways that volunteers contribute labor to NACIS. This is just a quick overview of some of the main ones. But there's one big one that's missing, and that is you can make your own. If you have an idea of how NACIS could do something different or better or grow in some way, and you're willing to put in the effort and time and skill to help make that happen, then that's a real possibility. That's how some of these other volunteer positions started that we've already talked about, with somebody who had an idea and wanted to help make it happen. When the board or the NACIS leadership has an idea about something that we can do differently or some way that we can grow, usually the biggest shortage we have is time, is people who are willing to step up and be able to give of themselves to make that happen. So if you have an idea, something you want to improve NACIS with, come and talk to us. Talk to me, talk to Leo, talk to anybody in the NACIS leadership, and we'll see what we can do. And this also goes if you don't want to make up your own idea. If you want to contribute in one of these existing ways that we've talked about. There's no guarantees about that. Maybe somebody's already doing that volunteer position, but potentially you could join them. Or maybe they're considering stepping down and you could take their place as they move out. Or maybe we can find some other related position that fits your interests as well. There are some options there. But regardless of whether or not you make up something new or you want to contribute in some existing way, I hope you'll consider contributing to NACIS. It's a community-driven effort with all volunteer labor, and I hope you'll consider giving your love and your time to help make it run smoothly. With that, though, that wraps up our presentation, so if there's a little bit of time, hopefully we can answer some questions. Thanks so much.